Thank you, Sherelle. I have to say, several months ago when I was first asked to be part of this symposium, like I was super excited. It was hard for me to kind of pull back and figure out what do I want to say. And even this morning at 4 a.m., I was starting to think like maybe I need to shift a little bit. And I did. And Sherelle might be feeling a little anxious right now with me saying that, but I kind of had this realization this morning. And as she was talking, it just reinforced to me that I needed to kind of take it this direction. Um, we have so many terms out there for what you guys are doing, and it might be a family caregiver, but not all of you are probably family members. And then there's the term informal caregiver. And one of the things I kind of don't like about that is that informal to me, one kind of takes away from the really difficult job you guys are doing. You guys go out there and you take on and you learn some things about medicine that you probably never expected in your life that you would do. But on that flip side, I also work with people, because I work in a hospital setting, that actually are doing the job of a medical professional. But guess what? They're also caregivers. And so I like to use the term unexpected caregiver. And I think it just sits so well. And nobody goes into this or starts their life with like, oh, hey, maybe I'll grow up and I'll have to put in really hard, demanding work caring for my loved one with a critical or a chronic illness. And that's what you guys have elected to do, not out of choice, but often out of necessity. So what I wanted to share was October 3rd, last month, my dad went in for a heart cath. We knew that there was a pretty big probability that he'd probably end up with a stent or two. But 2 hours later, we were told he needed open heart surgery. So on October 7th, the day my dad turned 75 years old, he was gifted a double bypass at the hospital system that I work at. And so I think that was just another example to me. My mother has been a caregiver from the time I've been young, caring for people in the neighborhood who, again, were not family. But here she was, being this unexpected caregiver for my dad. I have a sister who has 9 brain tumors, has had 13 brain surgeries. My sister-in-law, October 20th, had back surgery. Like, it happens. And it doesn't just happen once. It seems like it's a very one after the other, not just in my family, but probably in yours. That's why I felt so impassioned with writing and publishing my book, Always on Duty. There's been so many caregivers around me that I see the way it impacts them. But also, as a licensed professional counselor, I see each and every day people who are coming in who are caring for their loved ones. And I'm hearing them tell me how difficult it is, how it's impacting them. And I needed to be able to do something to be able to help them and help myself along the way. So I often kind of joke, and I always say it's as simple as ABC and 1, 2, 3. But I feel like it's really important to say that simple is not the same thing as being easy. So I'm going to go over the information that I share in my book, Always on Duty, but I am going to be honest in saying that it's going to sound a lot of times very simplistic, But I do acknowledge it's a challenge to implement, and sometimes it can really take some work to get the skills down. But once you do, I hear people say to me, like, wow, I was surprised how quickly it actually started to help. So, having said that, I'm going to actually challenge you to do something right now. I want you to kind of check in, see how your body is feeling. Is there any tense muscles? Are you noticing any discomfort? Overall, how's your general mood? And I'm going to say again, it is possible to caregive without burnout. When I said those words, did you notice anything change? Did your stomach maybe tighten a little bit? Mine did. Actually saying that to people and making the suggestion that it doesn't have to hurt quite as deep still gets to me sometimes, because I understand people are impacted with the hard work that you're doing. So what we're going to look at is really, what are the steps? What are those ABCs and 1, 2, 3s that can help it not, again, hurt quite as deep? It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be pleasant. There will be some pleasant moments if you let them kind of shine through. So with A, I always start with kind of saying, that's our awareness. And there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of. Like, cognitively, do you even know what your symptoms of burnout are? I actually had created a survey. I call it the PICS, the Personal Impact of Caregiving Survey. And it just goes through and it asks some people, like, are you feeling less hopeful? Are you noticing muscle pain and tension? Are you getting sick more frequently? Those types of questions. Those are symptoms of burnout. But there's also the somatic part of that. It's, how does burnout feel in your body? How does tension and stress feel inside your body? Because as you're going through your daily activities as being a caregiver, when we're in a tight, tense body, that actually embeds memories into our brain a little bit differently. We've all heard about trauma-informed care these days, and I believe it's what we need to shift towards with caregiving too, both for the loved ones, but also the idea of trauma-informed care for you guys who are doing that hard work of being a caregiver. So I often teach people to do what's called self-regulation. It's a really, again, simple idea. And I have a YouTube video out. It's about 8 minutes long. And since I only had 10 minutes, we don't have time for all of it. Check in with your body again. And I'm going to have you do one thing. I'm going to have you take the deepest breath you can in through your nose. And as you exhale, I want you to push it all out at one time. I'm going to demonstrate. So right now I noticed when I checked in with my body that I was actually tensing my legs up a little bit. So I went ahead and I relaxed them. And now I'm going to do it. And I'd like you to kind of do it along with me. So check in with your body. Does it feel any different? A lot of times I get people say, like, wow, I feel a little lighter. There was a muscle that I didn't realize was kind of tense, but after that breath, it feels a little relaxed. That's what made me notice it. Those are the things that we're talking about. And so the awareness is really getting you to know at a conscious level, but also that physical level, what's happening in your body. The B stands for beliefs and behaviors. Think back to a minute ago when I was talking about my dad having double bypass on his 75th birthday. I then went on to say he was given the gift of a double bypass. And honestly, I use those words because those were the words that my dad had used prior to the surgery, more so than afterwards. Several weeks out, he can start seeing it as a gift again. But he had actually acknowledged, like, he knew it wasn't going to be pleasant. He knew it was going to be hard going through the surgery. But because of that surgery, he has been gifted, hopefully, years longer to live and be with us. And so often the things that I hear from people are comments like, my loved one does fill in the blank on purpose. As soon as someone thinks, my loved one did this on purpose, what happens is it changes our behaviors. We yell. Maybe we throw things. Maybe we just stomp around the house a little bit more, give the silent treatment. So when we can challenge those beliefs, and I am in no way suggesting that you ignore, like Barry said, like, sadness is important to feel and acknowledge. We can still have anger with it too. We want the anger to be at the disease, not the loved one. So if we challenge that a little bit and we think like, yeah, this happened without judgment. So my loved one dropped their drink. I have to clean it up. I'm not happy about cleaning it up. But when I remember that truly they didn't do it on purpose, it was an accident, it helps me to, again, go back to that awareness, that self-regulation, to be able to behave in a way that I don't end up feeling so much guilt or shame. That's the other thing I hear about from caregivers like you, is that people will say, I acted this way. I didn't want to. Like, I feel bad at the back end. So when we self-regulate, when we don't have our own threat response activated, we can think more logically about the situations we're facing every day. It does not make us like them. It just helps us stay in control. And so that's where I kind of go into the next area, which is that C. And there's 3 aspects to this, and that is communication, commitment, and connection. And so again, communication isn't just the words that we say. And I'm not going to get real deep into this either, but there's something called mirror neurons. And so when we're in a bad mood, when we're giving the silent treatment, maybe not even on purpose, other people are noticing we're quiet. They're starting to react and respond and match our, energy at that moment. And so there's a lot in those nonverbals. that can happen, even the tone of our voice when we are saying words. Barry also had commented that with communication, I often hear people say, I need help. I hear help isn't a clearly defined explanation of what we need, though. Now, if I say, I have a doctor's appointment on Friday of next week in the morning, and I need someone to come sit with mom while I go to my appointment. Now I know I have clearly identified what I need. Does it mean that somebody's going to raise their hand and volunteer? No, but it improves the probability that someone is going to say yes. The other thing that happens is we say we need help. Somebody, sends over a pizza and they go, I don't know why they said I didn't never help. Look, I sent them dinner. By being more specific, we allow other people the opportunity to help us in the ways that we need the help most. So with commitment, again, as I mentioned, we don't have control over other people. We can't force them to help us. But what ends up happening with commitment, especially I have people use contracts, and it might seem a little strange, but it gives family members the opportunity to very specifically write down what they can and will commit to. It holds them accountable, and it also reminds us what those, acknowledgments were from them. By doing this, even when we hear a no, again, we don't like it, but we can stop wasting energy trying to convince someone, trying to force them or control them, which we have no power to do, in helping. And so that's another important reason why commitment and getting some written contracts can actually be quite helpful in caregiving. And so this allows us to do that third, that connection. Because what we find is we start connecting to the people who are able to give us the help and support that we need and we want. Beyond that, we can actually start connecting with ourselves more, because if we quit putting that energy towards controlling others, we have that energy to put towards ourselves. I hear so many caregivers say, I have lost and forgotten who I am during this journey. And that pains me when I hear that. In my ideal world, we would never have to deal with that. But I can say that I have worked with people who have felt that way, but been able to kind of rediscover who they are as they're going through that caregiving role, but also be able to identify who they are going to be after that caregiving role. Because at some point it does end, and we need to be ready for that also. So while I can't make it easy for you, I can't take away the pain or the uncomfortable emotions that you experience. As we've heard from other presenters here today, the one thing that we can do is figure out what we need and also be able to help ourselves in just a little bit of a more structured and self-regulated way. And so I want to thank everybody for allowing me to present to you guys today. I am going to go ahead and put those links out there into the chat for my self-regulation video. I'm also going to invite you to follow me on Facebook, because here before the end of the month, I'm going to have out a course that's going to go through in pretty good detail the communication and commitment aspects and what I use with individuals. And I'm going to give that to everybody here on the symposium, and it's going to be free. So I am looking forward to hearing from you guys and knowing how much it's helped you guys in the future. So thank you for letting me spend this time with you.